Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's good to see you and have you here. I'm very excited to be here with Cecilia Nobre. Now, Cecilia Nobre is an ELT teacher and a teacher trainer, and she's here today to share with us her experience on how to plan an effective lesson. Now, I've known Cecilia for several years. I know that she does excellent work, and I could not be more excited to have her here to share her expertise with you. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Cecilia and let her take it from here. Cecilia, welcome so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Chris. Hello, everyone. I hope you can see me and see my slides. It's going to be brief, but I hope it will be effective at the same time. I'm going to share some practical tips on how to plan an effective lesson and how to maximize your time when planning a lesson. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to share. So this is going to take perhaps 20 to 25 minutes. All right, and feel free to ask questions, make comments while I'm presenting the slides. Okay, so let's go. So okay, my first tip. Let's get started. My first tip is
Hey, Cecilia, let me just
plan new to some people, but and from my experience, planning the lesson backwards is one of the one of the things that really save us time because by knowing what you want your students to achieve, okay, by the end of the lesson, this helps you plan your lessons more smoothly. So my first tip is plan your lessons backwards, starting by what you expect your students to achieve. Okay, so start by the learning outcomes, and then you go backwards, right? For instance, you may want by the end of the lesson, you may want your students um, to to talk about their routines, and you want them to use certain adverbs. Okay, so this is an expected outcome. So by knowing that, this will help you select the materials, the lessons on Off2 Class, and it will help you uh, stage your lesson properly. So this is my first tip. Okay, plan your lessons backwards. The second tip is plan a series of lessons, perhaps 2, 3 of the same topic, okay, but focusing on different skills. So let's say you are teaching one week, you're teaching how to use this present perfect for experience, okay, to talk about past experience, right? So this is the topic of your lesson. So in order to maximize your lesson planning time, why don't you plan 2 or 3 lessons in a row, okay, on that same topic, but focusing on different skills. So perhaps on the first, for the first lesson, you want to focus on speaking and listening skills, okay? This will be your focus. And the second lesson, you want to focus on reading. You will come up with a reading text, and you want to focus on reading and perhaps speaking. Okay, so this will help you plan a series of lessons in a row, and it will give you some guidance. It will give you a logical sequence of your lessons. So this has helped me plan a series of lessons, and at the end it saves time as well. Okay, so plan a series of lessons of the same topic. Okay, and while you are delivering the lesson, okay, this is something that I find it extremely important, and we cannot overlook that, is to write down emergent language. Emergent language, I mean the incidental language, right? For example, if your student asks you, you know, for the meaning of a certain expression or a word or a phrasal verb, and if you help your student throughout the lesson coming up with the language that they need, right? They don't know that specific structure yet, but you help them. So what I usually do here, I usually have, let me show you. I usually have those post-its right next to me, and I write down everything that my students ask, everything that my students they want to know. So I go a little bit old school. So I have those notes, but you can also write down during your lesson. You know, if you're using Zoom, you can write perhaps on the chat box, but make sure that you make a record of that emergent language, because this will help you plan your future lessons. Okay, if you notice that your student, I don't know, maybe they were struggling and they wanted to talk about, let's go back to the routine lesson, right? Talking about routine. Let's say that they didn't know some adverbs or some expressions, okay, related to adverbs. So perhaps you can tell them, oh, this is it and that's that, but you take note, and this will help you plan your next lesson. So perhaps on your next lesson, you can start with their questions. Okay, you can plan that based on their questions. This is very informative, I think. The questions that they have, the language that they are trying to use, I think they are quite informative for us. Okay, and plan on how to revise them in the next lessons as well. Okay, because we might help them with a meaning or an explanation, but if they don't see this again, they will forget, right? It happens to us. We forget. So it's important to have this repetition over and over again. So make sure that you write down your learners' questions. Okay, so that's my third tip. So let me see if we have a question so far. No? Okay. The next one. Okay. So even if you're using your Off2 Class lessons, try to create extra materials that will go with the lessons. For example, flashcards or worksheets, etc. And keep them in a file on your computer. So what I do is I use a bookmarking website called Diigo. It's Diigo, Diigo. So I keep all the extra materials there. And you can also have a file, a folder file on Google Drive. So you can keep all the extra materials, and whenever you use it, and you know which extra materials you can that go with it. Okay, so and make sure that you reuse the lesson plans as well with different students. If you're teaching private students or if you're teaching groups, so it's good to reuse and recycle lesson plans as well. So this will also save you some time. Okay, we have 4 more. Okay, so let's say you are preparing your lesson. Okay, so another tip could be to start your lesson with a quick review. Okay, by collecting the content in advance. So remember the emergent language, the questions that your students have, or any questions and things that you feel that your students need revision. So start with a quick review in the beginning of the lesson. Perhaps, I don't know, the first 5 or 10 minutes of your lesson could be devoted to this review every lesson. So you know that the language will be recycled, reused, and this will help your students really absorb what you're trying to teach. So, for example, make sure that the vocabulary that they are reviewing and reusing the vocabulary, the grammar topics. So always try to go back 1 or 2 lessons and review them in a new lesson. Okay, so I would start with a review, a quick review for the first 5-10 minutes, and then start the lesson. Okay. Right. My 6th tip is to choose your after class lessons after, this is important, after planning the objective and the outcomes of that lesson. Okay. I feel that most teachers choose the materials first, choose the lessons first, and then they think of the objective. So I know that after class, you have a little box with information about the objective of the lesson, right? This is very, very useful. So have a look at the objective of the lesson and think about how you will use that objective to help your students achieve the learning outcomes of a certain lesson. So if you use that box, that will help you a lot. So think about the lessons. Think about choosing the materials, choosing the lesson on after class after you plan the objective and the outcomes, not before. Okay, so your learning objectives and the learning outcomes should inform you which lessons you can choose. Which lessons are appropriate for your students, which materials are appropriate for your students. Okay, not in the beginning. I think this is very, very important, and I've observed some teachers' lessons where they try to come up with the materials first, but then the lesson is, it's very difficult without having an objective in mind, to help your students go through it. So think about that before. My 7th tip is, use the tech tools that you already master. If you're teaching online, if you are novice in this online teaching, don't try to use several tools in one lesson. This is quite overwhelming, not only for you, but for your student as well. So I would say try to stick to, 2 or 3 tools that you need to use, and that's it. For example, if you need to use the whiteboard, if you need to use a different tool, so try to use try not to use too many tools. That's what I mean. And make sure that you learn the tools that you need the tools that you want to learn about as you go along. So don't try to, I don't know. I think that some teachers, they try to show off, right? By using lots of tools, and your student gets lost. You may get lost as well. So the simpler, the better. Okay, so don't try to use too many tools. Okay, focus on your craft. Focus on the lesson. Don't focus on the tools. The tools are there to help you deliver the lesson. They are not the stars of the lesson. Okay. And my last tip is to have a reflection time for your student at the end of the lesson. Okay, so plan a brief reflection task for your student at the end of each lesson, and use that reflection moment to help you inform what you want to plan for your upcoming lessons. And what I mean by a reflection task is really just to have a chat with your student. Okay, ask them, what they liked about the lesson. Okay, try to be as objective and as clear as possible. If I feel that if I ask an open question, you know, which is a broad question, they might not know what to answer. But if you ask a direct question, for instance, you may ask, I like to ask 3 questions, okay? What did you like? Can you tell me one thing, at least one thing you liked about the lesson, okay? Or you can ask 2 things or 3 things, but I try to keep it humble, you know, one thing that you liked about the lesson. So tell me one thing that you didn't like so much, and how would you, you know, how can this lesson be improved next time? What would you do, or what would you like me to do to make this lesson even better next time? So they give us a suggestion. Okay, so these are just some guiding questions. You don't have to use these questions. Okay, I'm just saying that try to plan like 2 or 3 questions for your students, where they can really share their opinions with you, how they felt about that lesson, and how they can really improve for next time. So it's just a chat. It's quite informal. So if you're teaching via Zoom, just tell them, okay, let's talk about the lesson now. You don't need to say reflection, okay? But just have this relaxed moment where you have a quick chat with them, and try to get this information from them. While they're giving their opinions, I have my notes here, so I take notes of everything they said. Or if you prefer, you can record the Zoom lesson. So you can click on recording and just record that reflection task, and then watch back and write down what they said. I think this is very, very important, and can help. Again, it can help us prepare better lessons, more personalized lessons. And yeah, if it comes from them, their opinions. If you're teaching, this is for teaching one-to-one, by the way. I know that if you're teaching groups, this is more difficult. It's still possible, but a little more difficult. So for instance, if you're teaching groups, I would do this same task with pairs in the breakout rooms. Okay, so I would pair up the students, and they would have to talk about their opinions. And then so this would take a little bit more time than one-to-one. And then when you have your students back in the main room, they can report what they said. Okay, so this could be one idea. Or you can have a whole group discussion at the end of the lesson. Okay, if you don't have a big group, let's say if you have up to 10 students, I think it's feasible to do a group reflection where you give each student one question, and they talk about that. Okay, so these are my suggestions, but I would really keep this moment in your lesson. For every lesson that you plan, I would keep this reflection task. Okay, so these are my tips. I don't know if you have any questions.